Hi, friends. I just have to say, I can't believe it's already August because I started this year in January, obviously, and I had hopes and ideas, and I knew I wanted to keep doing One Sip, One Tip. I knew I wanted to bring more people into the podcast and have conversations with them, but I don't think I actually knew what all of this was going to look like. And honestly, maybe that's a good thing. Because I've been thinking a lot lately about how much life happens that way. We see what's directly in front of us and we think, that's the story. This is where I am. This is what happened. This is what didn't happen. This is what I'm waiting for. This is the opportunity I got. And this is the opportunity I didn't get. And we put a period on things that maybe God hasn't finished writing yet. Now, I want to be careful when I say that because some things are actually final. People pass away, relationships end, and opportunities close. There are things we don't get back. And I don't believe we have to pretend those things aren't painful in order to have faith. But what I've been realizing is that a circumstance can be final without it being the end of what God can do through it. Listen to that again. A circumstance can be final without it being the end of what God can do through it. And I think that is where resilience comes in. Resilience has looked different in different seasons of my life. Sometimes resilience really is bouncing back after something hard. Sometimes it's rebuilding. And sometimes it's getting back up when you would really rather stay down for a minute. But right now, I think resilience looks a lot more ordinary for me. It's doing what's in front of me. My life has been, I hate to say it, busy this year. And not just business busy. There's been ministry, there's been travel, and there's been lots of new people. There's been this podcast, and there have been opportunities I genuinely didn't anticipate. And since January, God has put me in rooms that I don't think I would have chosen for myself. Not because they're bad rooms. I just wouldn't necessarily have thought, oh, yes, that's where I'm supposed to go. And yet I've walked into some of them and known I'm supposed to be here. I don't necessarily know why yet. I don't know what every opportunity becomes. I don't even know what every conversation leads to. But I don't actually think I need to know. Resilience in this season isn't figuring everything out. Maybe it's trusting God enough to do what's in front of me and saying yes to taking the opportunity to have the hard conversation, to do the hard thing, and to know who I am and not give that up because somebody else might prefer a different version of me. And then just keep going, not recklessly, and not saying yes to everything just because it's available, but being awake enough to recognize when something has been placed in front of me that I'm supposed to pay attention to. Because there's always more happening than what I can see. And honestly, I was trying to explain this, and the best way I can say it is, sometimes we just miss the sparkle of life. And I actually really like that, because you know what I mean by sparkle? It's by those little things that cause joy. Something beautiful that makes you stop. Something that makes you laugh, a conversation you weren't expecting, a view, a ridiculous moment with your friends. A person who lights up when they're telling you something they love. It's that thing that quite literally puts a little sparkle in your eye. I notice it a lot in nature. But honestly, I notice it in people too. And I've realized that I tend to miss it most when I'm working really hard or when I've gotten so focused on what needs to happen next that I'm not paying attention to what's happening now. And I think we do that a lot as adults. My pastor's mentioned before how, as adults, we forget what it's like to go to camp. And think about it. There was something special about going to camp when you were younger. Everything was exciting. You did weird activities you would never normally do. You're meeting people, you're staying up too late, you're laughing, you're exhausted. You come home with stories and inside jokes, and probably even something you made that your parents absolutely did not want to keep forever. And I think back to when I was a gymnast. When I went to camp as a gymnast at Camp Woodward in Pennsylvania, I remember coming home so on fire and excited for the tricks that I maybe was starting to learn, but it just reminds me how camp is for a young person. It's exciting. It's different. You're not with your family, you're with a bunch of strangers, and you make new friends. The opportunities are different, the people are different, and the place is different, but it's still safe. I just feel like we need that more in our lives. We need to realize we're safe, but we can also explore and get to know more of who God is and get excited about who He is in our lives. Okay, the whole purpose of me talking about camp was to actually talk about going home and what that felt like. Do you remember coming home from camp and you felt like a different person? You felt changed. You felt renewed. Basically, you came home and you were just all in, whether it was Bible camp, gymnastics camp, football camp, whatever camp you went to, you were all in. You were excited and on fire for what you did. And somewhere in adulthood, I think we can lose some of that. We get very responsible. We think about our calendar, our work, our laundry, our bills, our appointments. We have to get the oil changed. And don't forget what's happening next week or next month. What am I doing with my life? Where's this relationship going? What's my 5-year plan? And listen, responsibility is good. And please change your oil. Your car will thank you. But I don't want to become so responsible for my life that I forget to actually live it and what that looks like. I don't want to miss the sparkle because I'm staring at the schedule. So this year I've traveled a lot. I put it in my schedule. But when I think about those trips, yes, I can tell you where I went. We've talked about this. But that's not really what I remember first. I remember the people. I've gone places with the grown-ups table. I've spent time with people from 1824. I've gone to Lakeland. I've gone on road trips through Nashville, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. I've been to the Bahamas. I've met so many people, but I've been with people I've known as well. And as much as I genuinely love walking into a room full of new people, and we know I do, I think some of my favorite moments have been the smaller ones. The ones sitting with one person, a handful of people around a table, the conversation after everybody else has moved on, and getting to ask another question. Finding out something about somebody I never would have known if we hadn't slowed down long enough to talk. And I truly believe that's been one of the sweetest parts of this year. I'm not holding myself back. I'm going. I'm meeting people. I'm taking opportunities. I'm allowing myself to experience my life while I'm living it. And I don't know what all of those connections will become. Some may actually become lifelong friendships. Some may be one really great conversation. Somebody may have needed something from me. I may have needed something from them, and maybe we'll never completely know. But that's okay, because I don't have to know the ending to value what's happening in the middle. And that is probably one of the biggest things I keep coming back to. People. People matter. And sometimes they have absolutely no idea how much they matter. Y'all, I've lost people. And every time I'm reminded of how easy it is to assume somebody knows what they mean to you, I've thought about my cousin before and wished I had another opportunity to tell him how much he mattered. And I don't say that to make it this heavy. I actually think it makes me want to do the opposite. It makes me want to be more intentional about saying it now. I need to tell people. If somebody matters to you, tell them. If somebody made your day better, tell them. If you're proud of somebody, tell them, for goodness sakes. And if you've noticed something good in them, just say it. Don't wait until somebody's gone to become really good at explaining everything you loved about them. Let them hear some of it now. Because you may not know what somebody is carrying. You may not know what your encouragement actually means. You may not realize that you're part of the sparkle in somebody else's life. And honestly, sometimes it's uncomfortable for me to sit in the idea that I've made a difference in someone else's life. I don't want to have a big head about that. But I've also realized I don't have to shrink away from it. I'm honored when God allows me to be that person for somebody. I'm honored that I get to be fully who I am and use what I've been given. And I want to be conscious of that. How I speak matters, how I treat people matters, and the decisions I make matter. Not because I'm the center of somebody else's story. I am absolutely not. But I might get to be a little piece of it. And so might you. And maybe you're listening to this thinking, that's great, Kelly. You're traveling, you're meeting people, you have all these things going on, and I feel stuck. But hear me when I say this. I get that too. And your life is just as unique. Your circumstances are yours. I'm not going to pretend I know exactly what you're walking through. But I also want to remind you that the situation you're facing probably isn't as unique as it feels when you're sitting alone in it. Someone has walked something similar. Someone understands a piece of it. Someone may be 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. And someone may have the wisdom you need. But sometimes you have to seek them out. You have to tell somebody. You have to walk into the room. You have to ask the question. You have to let people know that you need people. You are never meant to do all of this alone. And maybe you don't need the entire answer right now. Maybe you don't even need to see the entire picture. Maybe right now, you're just supposed to live fully in the part you have. So look around. Do what's in front of you. Love the people who are there. And notice the sparkle. And trust, please, what you see right now is not necessarily everything God is doing. And if it's been a while, let me be the next person to say it. You matter. Don't forget that. So, I've realized something else about this podcast. I'll lighten it up for a minute. I don't want to just talk at you. I love one sip, one tip. And I love getting to sit down with people and record their stories. There's something really special to me about capturing someone's life on audio. Because when I interview someone, I get to introduce you to them. I get to ask questions, I get to go a little deeper. But here's the thing, I'm only asking the questions I think to ask. You might hear something completely different. You might listen and think, Kelly, how did you not ask them about this? And that's fair. But let me ask you, can you tell me? You might listen to Andrew or Jenna or Sarah or one of my future guests and think, I need to know more about what they said there. I need you to send me the question. And maybe I call them, maybe I send them the question and share their answer. And maybe they come back. Maybe we do something like Follow Up Friday. I don't know yet. That seems like a little bit more work than I need to add onto my plate. But I actually kind of love that I don't know. Because isn't that basically what I've spent this entire episode talking about? I don't have to know exactly what something is going to become before I'm willing to actually give it a chance and see what it becomes. And that goes for one sip, one tip too. If I say something that you think, Kelly, you need to talk more about that, tell me, because obviously I like to talk. If there's something you're wrestling with and you want to hear my thoughts, ask me. If one of my opinions makes you think, okay, but what about this? Ask. I definitely have opinions. We all know this. Sometimes I have deep thoughts and sometimes I don't. But I want this to feel less like I'm sitting behind a microphone, talking into the internet, and more like we're sitting around a table having a conversation. And if you're at the table, you get to talk too. So here's your one sip, one tip this week. Don't become so focused on what's next that you miss the sparkle of what's now. You don't have to understand everything that's happening. You don't have to know where every opportunity leads. And you don't have to know why God put you in a particular room. Sometimes resilience is simply doing the thing that's in front of you and trusting Him with everything you can't see yet. And while you're there, look around. Notice people. Tell them they matter. And ask another question. I'm always going to encourage that. Say yes when you're supposed to say yes. And let yourself be delighted by your own life. Because there's more happening than you can see. And maybe some of the things that feel ordinary today are going to be the things you look back on someday and realize, oh, that really mattered. So take what you need, leave what you don't, and I'll meet you right back here next week for another sip. Oh, and one more thing before you go. Since this is episode 33, I obviously had to find out if there's anything interesting about the number 33. And apparently, a standard vinyl LP spins at 33 and 1/3 revolutions per minute, which feels oddly appropriate for a podcast. 33 episodes in, and apparently we're officially a record. That's it. That's the fact. Do absolutely nothing useful with that information. Okay, bye.